Housekeeping. Just wanted to welcome those of you that joined recently since I last welcomed everyone. And we will be getting started here right now. We are happy that all of you could join us today for the Inspira webinar. Today with us we've got Jeff Feller and John Austin, both from Inspira. They will be presenting the information. And they'll also be hanging on the line after the presentation for questions that you may have for them. So that's a great time to take advantage of their time to ask those questions, especially since it is a newer line at Bishop. Just quickly today, before we do go ahead and dive into the information, wanted to cover a couple of housekeeping items. All of you on the phone today will be muted, so we will not be able to hear you speak, and that's just so we can avoid any kind of unwanted background noise. However, you can still very easily ask questions or bring something up during the presentation using the questions box here on your GoToWebinar toolbar. So just type in the question and then hit send, and I will be monitoring those throughout the presentation. Then again, like I said, we'll have time at the end for Q&A. So did just want to mention that so no one's trying to talk and think that we're ignoring you, because we're not. We won't be able to hear you. So with that, I wanted to hand things over to Jeff Feller, who is our sales representative from Inspira. He will be presenting the bulk of the information today.
No, thank you, Ellen. And I want to thank all of you for being part of this webinar. I think that you're going to have some information presented today that may be somewhat redundant. However, you'll find that our program is quite unique to the other LVTs that are on the market. Inspira, both plank and tile, gives you several advantages over other floor coverings that are on the market today. We utilize papers that are different, textures that are different in both our stone and wood. To give you a little background on who Strategis is, we began the company about 11 years ago. Some of you may know me from the All-Lock days or even way back back to the WeTex days. The manufacturing process has always been the same. You have a manufacturing rep, and in our particular case here with Strategis, we go through distribution. We do not sell direct, so we're a two-tier operation. But about 11 years ago, Strategis started, and our main focus was selling to the box stores in Canada. So you will find when you click on Strategis International in the internet that a Trillium product and or Inspira could come up being sold by Home Depot. You cannot purchase, no one can purchase the product from Home Depot or any box store in the United States. So it's only up north. That's how we made our living. 5 years ago, I brought the products down from Canada and began selling the products here in the U.S. So again, we only go through distribution. From there, Bishop took on the line about November or so. Well, I think you got your first containers in October. So they now have product in stock of all 7 SKUs that they carry. And as Ellen has down here, the expectations were great in taking an LVT, but their sales have, I think, exceeded even their greatest expectations. The first display allocation sold out in the first week, so they get their next container comes in on the 10th, so they'll be able to fill their back orders on displays, but product is in inventory. When we compare LVTs out there on the market, you have to be cognizant of the products that you're selling. There's a lot of 3 millimeter, and you can bulk all these products into being a LVT, or luxury vinyl tile, or luxury vinyl plank. But you know, it's really what goes into the product. I think the easiest way to sell our product is to touch it, to hold it. For all you who sell carpet, you sell carpet by hand. The same thing holds true here. Consumers don't really relate to how much, or let me just rephrase this. Consumers relate to a couple things. One, they relate to color. And that's most important to Mrs. Consumer. Mr. Consumer is concerned about the value. So when we look at our product, the Inspira product, we're looking at a 5mm product with a 20 mil wear layer. For all of you who are used to selling vinyl, you know that the 20 mil wear layer is an extremely high-end product in the sheet vinyl world. Almost indestructible from the standpoint of wear. So when you have a 5mm product, which is one of the thickest ones on the market today, and a 20 mil wear layer in combination, it makes for a great product. We utilize the Unilin click system. Your visuals in these products are unlike the other products that are on the market from the standpoint of our stone patterns utilize a texture as well as a very HD. We utilize HD papers so that you have a very strong visual. Combined with a texture on top gives you very lifelike stone visuals. Our planks are more on the exotic line. So we don't have the traditional gunstock oak. We don't have, 6 oaks in the line. And when we get to the pictures of the product, you're going to find that we are completely different from that standpoint. Almost unshoppable when you look at the other products on the market from the standpoint of visual. They're Duralox urethane aluminum oxide wear layer that has 2 sheets, if you will, on top. The Duralox finish is a little bit different than what's on the market today. A lot of times it'll just be urethane or PVC top. Our finish actually expands and contracts with the product. And what makes that unique is we'll help fight fracturing and other top-level problems that you can have or wear layer problems that you can have. We are 100% vinyl, and that's virgin vinyl. And that's important from the standpoint of being a waterproof product. We use no recycled content in our products, so we know exactly what goes into the product from that standpoint. You also have a fiberglass membrane, and when we get into the actual breakdown of the product, I'll speak more about that. You have a 10-year commercial warranty. Our warranty on commercial is, we talk about clean traffic. When we talk about commercial, we're concerned about the amount of traffic as well as the type of traffic. So when I always use the comparison of talking about mall traffic. Mall traffic is something that, there's hundreds of people walking around in that mall, but what you don't want to do is you don't want to put this product in the foyer of the mall. You would put this product in the boutique of the mall. And by the time a person gets to that particular store, most of the dirt, grit, and grind is worn off their shoes. But if you think about the traffic in that boutique, it's very funnel or very, very centralized, and they have you walk between the merchandising. That is funnel traffic, and that can be very high. And we're not concerned about that because of the wear layer that's on our product and also the type of finishes that we use. So we're not concerned about that. So we put a 10-year commercial warranty on our product. We also have a 50-year residential warranty. You can decide as a retailer on which warranty you want to talk about. But 50 years from my standpoint, I'm 106 at that time. I don't think you're going to be calling me. 10 years is quite a tangible number to use, and to talk about foot traffics in a commercial application as opposed to the residential, we're never going to wear out from that standpoint. Bishop has priced this product aggressively versus the competition, and just to draw a comparison, really about the only product that matches up to our product from the standpoint of construction is another product that is another 520. And when I speak of that, it's a 5mm and a 20 mil wear layer. And if you have that product, take a look at the price. I think you'll find that Bishop has done one heck of a job in pricing our Inspira program. A little breakdown, if we look at the bottom left, it tells us how that product is fused together. And I want to use that word because we do not use any types of glue in putting the sandwich, if you will, together. An important thing about the product or LVT is that the product has to be balanced. Not unlike laminate. If you had a product or a laminate that was not balanced, it would bow, it would curl. It just wasn't a very, it just is not a very good product. So when we take our bottom three, the vinyl stabilizing layer, the high density vinyl, and the structural fiberglass, those three are put together and fused together. And then the top four, another high density vinyl layer, the pretty picture, the decor layer, a 0.5 or a 20 mil wear layer, and then you have the Duralock scratch resistant coating on top. So those two sandwiches, if you will, are put together and fused together so that the product can become 100% waterproof. And that's a good, that is the main difference between LVT and laminate. Laminate, I mean, rarely do you see laminate wear out unless it comes into contact with moisture. And I've seen several laminate jobs be been installed into restaurants in which that the waitress station where the water continually hits the aluminum oxide finish, or the melamine and water turns it back to sugar, and it will wear out terribly in that area. So when we talk about LVT, our Inspira program, is 100% waterproof. We take that sandwich and we mill a unilin locking mechanism to it. So you have in a plank program, you have a 6-inch wide by 48-inch or 4 foot by 5 millimeter or 3/16 plank. As you know, some of the planks that are offered today are 3 footers. So we offer another foot at extremely competitive price points. Our tiles are 12 by 24, a rectangular tile with no grout lines. It's a monolithic installation. But when you look at a large portion of our tile, you'll find that grout lines are not necessary at this juncture of our program. Most tiles that are out there today are 12 by 24, and I think the main difference in our plank program is that we utilize a 4 foot. So from the standpoint of installation, you're putting a foot more down, and very, very easy to install because of the unilin locking mechanism. From the standpoint of the locking mechanism, you can do an angle installation or cut off an end utilizing that locking mechanism to use it as a tapping block and tap the product together. So there's no glue needed. Because of the texture that we put on our tiles and planks, it's an anti-slip surface. We pass all the James slip tests from that standpoint. Our tough as nails finish is that Duralock scratch resistant coating, but that doesn't mean that the product isn't going to scratch. I want to emphasize all products in the flooring industry do scratch, and there are ways of taking care of scratching or at least hiding it temporarily. So the strength of LVT is that it's much warmer over concrete floors than other products, and that's important. You have a non-porous top, which means the bottom is also non-porous. So from the standpoint of hydrostatic pressure, moisture coming bottom from concrete to the top would dissipate out the sides and will not affect the product. But I'm not saying in any way, shape, or form that you can install this product over a lake. So please, you still need to do calcium chloride test or moisture if you have a issue with moisture in the concrete. When we talk about our textures that are on our products, if you are, and we emulate wood very well, and when you look at the Bishop program, you're going to find that our Bird's Eye Beach is a smooth surface. On top it has some ticking, but we're emulating wood. So Beach is a smooth product, so we do have a smooth surface there. Your rustic oak has a heavy texture, along with mocha java oak, a heavy texture, which again emulates a more rustic look, if you will. Our sawmill pine is a hand scrape. And ladies and gentlemen, please, when your rep comes in, or if you have the program today, please take a look at the sawmill pine. And I need you to talk about the hand scraping in it. It's quite unique. You don't find many hand scrapes in the LVT world today. Flame mahogany is one of our largest sellers because of its color and its colorations. It's a gorgeous piece. So those are the 5 planks. Autumn slate gray and sable quartzite are the 2 tiles, which unfortunately, and every screen is going to show color differently, and these 2 pictures aren't really, on my screen, aren't anywhere close to what they actually look like. So please, when your rep comes in, take a look at these, feel the texture, and hopefully what your rep will bring in an individual plank or tile so that you can actually feel the weight of the product. That's what the consumer is going to take home with them. They're going to remember what the color looked like. They're going to remember how heavy the product was. And they're going to also take home that square foot price. And unfortunately, you know, we can talk about the theory of sales, but that square foot price, the weight, and the pretty pictures, what is going to sell these products. So it's a click product with a 50 residential, a 10-year commercial. Clicks together. It's oil, stain resistant, spill resistant. It's 100% waterproof. You can install this product over radiant heat. You have to pay attention to the installation instructions on how to install over radiant heat. And it's suitable for every type or every room in the home, whether it be in the basement, on grade, or above grade. Your display will show large boards, and those boards are roughly 18 inches by 36 inches. You'll have the 5 plank in the back and the 2 tile in the front, as it's shown here in the display. So again, to go over the SKUs as well as their sizes, each plank is 6 inches by 48 inches by 5 millimeters or 3/16, and there are 5 plank, 12-inch by 24-inch by 5 millimeter, and there are 2 tile. The display itself is $99.
And Jeff, you had said, or just to clarify, we will be getting the remainder of those displays in on the 10th of this month.
On the 10th, yes. Your container is supposed to hit there on the 10th.
Correct. So for those of you on the line that are anxiously awaiting delivery of your display, just wanted to give you that update again. Thanks.
Installation. The product, just like all the other products that are on the market, or most of the other products that are click, the product can be floated. And when we float the product, you do have some restrictions, and I'm not, I tell the truth. I'm not afraid of telling the truth. There are restrictions to how far or how large of an installation that you can go. We do want the floor to be relatively level. We talk about an 1/8 inch and 10 feet or thereabouts. So you do need to be concerned about the levelness of your substrate because it is a locking mechanism. And that locking mechanism is only as good as the subfloor as it goes over. In commercial installations, where there's roller traffic, heavy traffic, merchandising, shelving, these types of things, we want the product to be glued down. When we talk about the size or the area that could be installed, it's a 30 by 30 before you have to begin to use transition strips. Now, there are several companies that have our colors from the standpoint of matching a transition strip, and I'm not going to get into that because mainly most people just use a flat metal bar. So when we look at using a transition strip or utilizing a transition strip, because we have a larger area, you can use flat metals and they work great. In order to cut the product, you want to cut the product from the face. You just score it with a razor blade knife and snap it. It's the easiest thing in the world to do. Some guys are using guillotines and other ways of cutting it, and that's fine. It's not an issue. The easiest way that I've found is just, score it a couple times and snap it. We do have our installation guide on our website, which is inspirafloors.com, and you can refer to that. We just put up, and I don't know if it's on there yet, but we just finished the installation instructions for replacing a plank. So that will be up on it, if not today, in the next day or two. So you'll have that information at your hands too. In floating the product, again, we have to keep in mind that the product is floating. So you cannot put cabinets, if you're doing, I can't tell you how many jobs are going on today as we speak in multi-housing. I got a phone call again this morning. You cannot put cabinets on this product because it is a floating. It has to continue to float. So and my information to the gentleman who called me today was if the builder wants to put the cabinets in on top of the product, then you have to glue the product down. And then you can put a transition strip in the doorways and float the rest of the areas. That's fine. So anytime that you have a concern that the product may be pinched, may not be able to float, you glue it down with an LVT pressure-sensitive adhesive. Some questions that we came up with, does much product get glued down? Absolutely. Imagine an installation that's a commercial installation. Most of them are over 30 foot long. So glue is used quite a bit. Pressure-sensitive adhesive is what you want to use. Let's keep in mind that the product is 5 millimeter, and most vinyl adhesives are pull-down or draw-down adhesives. So telegraphing and what have you are going to be a big problem. The other thing, or the advantage about using pressure-sensitive adhesive, is that if you do have to do a board replacement, it can be easily done, and you never have to repair or re-glue the product. Scoring and snapping, you can use any type of tool to cut the product, but the most common is a utility knife, or like I said, a lot of the installers out there now have the guillotine that they've been cutting their laminates with, and that's fine. Acclimation, all products should be acclimated from the standpoint of woods and LVTs and laminates and those kinds of things. And in this particular case, we're not concerned about the expansion and contraction of the product because it does have that fiberglass mesh, and that's what does keep the product from expanding and contracting like vinyls of old. If we look at vinyl of old, the molecular structure of vinyl is round, and we flatten it out to make it into a floor. For all of you who are in the vinyl world, when your installer put the two pieces or cut his seam, and then he welded the seam together, if he didn't get a proper bond with the seam sealer, you would get a black line caused by moisture and dirt, and then it would curl also. The strength of our product is if you cut it, it will not curl. If the product is properly locked together, expansion and contraction is quite small depending on the environment. So when you take the product into your install area, we want it to sit for at least 3 days so that it becomes acclimated or to room temperature. That will give you an excellent install. We don't want it sitting in, especially in the next couple of weeks here, sitting in the back of the installer's van overnight and then walk in and install the product. You will have a problem from that standpoint. Underlayments that can be used, any LVT, there aren't many on the market today, but if you are concerned about the IIC or STC for multi-housing and or condos, that type of thing, sound muffler LVT, cork, and there's more LVT pads hitting the market today. So let's just make sure that it is suitable for LVT. The product can go over just about any substrate, concrete, wood, OSB, all of the things that you run into on a daily basis. Please, again, take in mind that there has to be floor prep because the product is going to float, or if you're gluing it down, you do need to be concerned about floor prep. As for sheet vinyl, we don't want the product going over more than 2 layers of vinyl, and that's just from the standpoint of indentation. We don't want the floor creating any problems with the locking mechanisms. Net fit areas. If you're doing a bathroom, one of 2 ways, just like laminate, you have to pull the toilet. If you don't pull the toilet, you have to gap the product around the toilet. When you come up to the tub, there's no way of gapping that without filling it in, or no way of leaving the gap without showing the substrate, so you have to caulk it. Keep in mind the caulk shrinks, so please, please be careful or utilize your best efforts when you're using a caulk around the tub. The other option, if you don't want to pull the toilet or you don't want to use caulk, you can use the pressure-sensitive adhesive and install the product in a bathroom, gluing it down, and not be concerned about it. As I said before, you cannot put an island or cabinet on top of this material. It has to be able to float. Keep one thing in mind also. If you're going to gap around an island, you're going to need quarter round. Gap around the cabinets, you're going to need quarter round. So these things you have to keep in mind. Undercut your door jambs. These are things that in any type of installation that's floating, we don't change the rules here. A V-notch or drill larger than the hole is the way you're going to take care of nosings and T-molds, if you will. Die lots. Die lots, like laminate, aren't a real big issue. However, we want to keep our lot numbers together. When we talk about our films, we're a lot like laminate from the standpoint of you could have 1 in 8 repeats in this product. There's no way of actually knowing how many will be there. So we do ask the installer to work out of 2 or 3 cartons of material and do your install that way. You do have to stagger this product also. Stagger is what gives the strength to the locking mechanism. So I do consider staggering the product. In our tile, we're 12 by 24, so I look at a 6-inch stagger there. In our planks, we're 6 inches by 48. Look at a 1-inch, or I'm sorry, a 12-inch stagger there. Technical information, again, when we look at it from the standpoint of what or where our product can go. Because we are waterproof, don't be afraid to put it in the bathroom. It's absolutely fine. Restaurants, other areas that you have wet traffic, it's a great product for that. Again, we are very high on the James slip resistance test, so we're good from that standpoint. We talk about think green, build green. Although we don't use any recycled product, there are advantages to that, as there are advantages to recycled products. But because we're 100% vinyl, I know that the product shrinks less. The fiberglass mesh is what gives it its stability. So from those standpoints, you have a product that is going to last quite a long time for you.
Great, thanks, Jeff.
Oh, one other thing, Ellen.
Yeah.
Unheated areas. If you're going to put, one thing I want to caution everyone on, LVT. When we look at LVT, it can go into three-season rooms and those types of things. But what I want to caution you on, those areas, you should glue those down. And the reason why I say that, thermal heat with LVT is a problem. When you have a room that faces south and the sun comes in and beats down on 4 planks or 4 tiles, or let's just say in a 100 square foot room, 20 square feet are getting beat by the sun and they're heated up, they're going to begin to expand. And if that floor is floating, you're going to have a problem. So in any area that you're going to have sun or thermal heat, my suggestion is that you glue it down so that you do not have that problem. You always want to suggest that they put a film or some sort of window coverings on those areas so that you can help fight that thermal heat. That's it.
Great, thank you. All right, thanks everyone for joining us today. First and foremost, hope you found all of this information very helpful. We did record the webinar also, so if you have other people from your team that you would like to listen in, that's very easy to do. I will be posting it to the Bishop YouTube channel, and I'll be sending out a link to that. So you can very easily view and listen to the presentation again. If you have questions, you can certainly contact your Bishop Territory Manager. They're very well versed on the product line also. And I will open things up now for questions, so feel free to get those sent in. We are having our next webinar is going to be in a couple of weeks on Thursday, November 21st, the same time, so 2 to 2:30, and that webinar will be covering a couple of Congolium's new products, both the AirStep Vibe and Zone. So stay tuned for more information on that. I'm going to go here and look and see what kind of questions have come in. Okay, Jeff, this would be one for you. It says glue the whole floor. That's all it says, but I'm wondering if they mean have to glue literally the entire.
Yes, you do. You have to glue the entire floor. There is no perimeter. You cannot do any type of perimeter glue or anything like that. In most cases, you're going to use a paint roller. Again, you're going to refer to the glue manufacturer's way of applying the glue, but in most cases, it's a paint roller, and you lay the product in.
Great, thank you for the clarification there. I know I think this was mentioned on the flyer, but we had someone that was wondering what is the best way to clean the floor.
Yeah, swabbing the deck isn't a problem at all. Because it is waterproof, you can use water. We're not big on detergents. They leave a residue. I know that Bona makes a couple products. I'm sure you can use any type of Congolium cleaner, that kind of thing. We just our concerns when you use detergents is that they do leave residues, and we don't want the residue left from a cleaner to be confused with wear on our wear surface. But any type of when I say that, surfactants, which is the problem that you run into with residue, you want to use a cleaner that has very low surfactant. Or just clean water. There's nothing wrong with that.
Thank you. Let's see here. We have another question. So you talked a lot about the product being waterproof. How will the product perform if it's in an area like a basement, bathroom, kitchen that gets quite wet?
Yeah, we have. Look, there are drains in a basement for a reason. we've had here in Chicago, I live in Chicago, and last year we had flooding unbelievable. It wasn't last year, it was just last spring. The floods were unbelievable. And we've had people just pick the product up, rinse it off, clean the floor, and put the product back down. Now, you know, that all sounds so easy, but moisture won't affect the product because it is fused together. But what can be affected is the locking mechanism, because let's keep in mind there's pressure on it. You pulling up on the tile and those planks, and you could break the locking mechanism. It's not the largest lock on there, just like laminates from that standpoint. And if that were to happen, if you were to take the product up, or if you installing the product were to knock the lock off, don't be concerned. You can use seam sealers. You can use super glue to lock the product back together. By that, you've just put a few dabs or a thin bead of seam sealer and or super glue or anything you want to use from that standpoint, and glue the product back together. And it doesn't affect the integrity of the floor in any way, shape, or form. And it's a great little fix. I mean, I suggest that your installers do have a bottle of seam sealer in case there is a plank or two that doesn't lock properly, or they knocked it off, or I might have manufactured it wrong. And if that opening does happen, seam sealer is the easiest way to fix it.
Thank you. I have one other question that has come in. How would you recommend installing the product around a door jamb?
Doing it over the phone is a little bit difficult, but let's just imagine that, and I'm going to say that naturally we're having to go through the door jamb on the 4-foot side as opposed to the 6-foot. In other words, I'm going through the door jamb on my width or sideways. So what I have to do is, in that 3-foot door jamb, and I'm on my last row, and I'm unable to lift the product up, what you want to do is you want to lay a piece of scrap about a foot long down, put your plank on top of that scrap, sliding it into the doorway, and then take a pull bar, or if you have the opportunity to use a tapping block, tap it in. It's the easiest way to do it. By using that piece underneath, it allows the plank to slide onto the locking mechanism. You know, to slide on the locking mechanism. I don't know if any of that made sense, because I'm doing it with my hands. It's a little more difficult to do just talking about it. But our product can be tapped together, which is an advantage, as opposed to an angle only install, which is much more difficult to do. So if you have the opportunity to tap it in, you may do that.
Thank you. I have another question that came in. How should one repair scratches in the surface layer without a touch-up kit?
You can use WD-40. When we talk about scratches, there's, you know, dogs could do it. There's superficial wounds, if you will, where you're not necessarily going to do a plank replay or a board replacement. So WD-40 takes the white line out of it. It is not a. Some people have used mayonnaise. There's the oils in mayonnaise that will also hide the white line, and that's really what we're talking about. How do I hide the white line? But WD-40 will work. When we talk about repair kits, you'd have to fuse the repair to the Duralox finish, and we try to be as scratch resistant as possible, but you know, sins do happen. So you can, for a temporary fix, you can go ahead and use WD-40 on a rag and just wipe it over top. If it's unsightly, you can do a board replacement.
All right, thank you. It looks like for right now that's the final question that's come in. So if anyone has any others, please get those sent in. We'll stay on the line here for a couple of minutes. Wanted to thank Jeff for presenting and John for being on the line as well today. Thank you very much. And we hope everyone found the information very useful. We're excited about having this line, and we look forward to many successful years to come.
Well, I also want to thank you all for your time. And if you have any more questions, I'm here. Ellen, I did send over to Bill the board replacement instructions. Like I said, it will be going up on the website. And for some reason, yours kicked back to me, but Bill and Rudy do have that information.
Okay, great.
If anybody needs that, you can forward it on.
Okay, perfect. Thank you very much.
Yep.
I haven't seen any other questions come in, so I think we'll end the webinar for today, and we hope many of you will be able to join us on the 21st for our next webinar. Thanks, everyone. Have a great day.